Hey guys, good morning. I hope everyone is doing well. So, I wanted to post a quick video to help you guys out with our new unit because I know that this is something that we hadn't really got a chance to touch on, except in like 5 minutes. But as we're moving on to our new unit, I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. It is all about natural hazards. So, the whole point of this unit is so that we can forecast or predict future catastrophic events and inform the development of technologies to mitigate. Mitigate is a major term in this unit. It's one of our most important vocabulary words this unit. Mitigate is all about preventing or trying to help prevent something from being as bad as it could be. This unit is actually going to be really interesting because we are literally living through a natural hazard right now, and you guys are witnessing how our government and other health agencies are trying to mitigate the effects of this hazard that we are all living through. Okay? So, here, just type through for me some things that you already know about natural hazards. Natural hazards are things like tornadoes, earthquakes, volcanoes, things that, those are the things we see in the news the most often, obviously, the things you've probably heard of the most. And then you're going to kind of start going through your vocabulary. So we have 4 different types of natural hazard categories that we're going to be looking at. The first one is geophysical, then hydrological, then climatological, and then biological. So a natural hazard is anything that is a naturally occurring physical phenomena caused by either rapid or slow onset events. So for example, the COVID-19 biological natural hazard that we are living through right now has kind of been a slow onset. We are more familiar with things like a tornado that is a very rapid onset, but there are very slow onset natural hazards that we can experience as well. Our big question in this unit: how do we predict or forecast catastrophic events and mitigate the effects? Remember, prevent or make less severe is what mitigate means. So here, the easiest way to remember the different categories for natural hazards is to understand their prefix. Their prefix is going to help you clue into which one would fall into which category. Hydro, in case you didn't know, means water. So that's going to be your natural hazard events that deal with water. Be careful though, because something like a hurricane, although it might deal with water, it is actually dealing more with the weather, which is what the climatological category is. So sometimes we can think, oh, hurricanes deal with a lot of rain and things like that, but that is actually weather related. So that would be climato. Geo, we've already learned, means earth. So something dealing with the earth is going to be a geophysical natural hazard. And then bio, dealing with life, that's kind of like our COVID-19 natural hazard that we're going through right now, because bio is going to be things like infectious diseases or viruses that may spread, just like we're kind of experiencing in real life. It's okay, Captain America. All right, geophysical. Remember, geo means earth. So that's going to include things like earthquakes, landslides, volcanic activity, and tsunamis. A lot of people are like, how is a tsunami a geophysical natural hazard? That's water. But we know, some of us know already, that a tsunami is caused by an earthquake underneath the ocean floor. Therefore, it is actually geophysical. Although the tidal wave that we may or may not experience following that earthquake under the ocean floor does involve the water, it is caused by a geophysical. Hydrological. So hydro means water. So that's going to be your avalanches and your floods. Climatological. So climate refers to the average weather conditions over time. So that's going to be our natural hazards that involve anything to do with the weather conditions. So examples would be like extreme temperatures, either really, really, really cold or really, really, really hot. Droughts, wildfires, anything that is going to be because of the weather. That's also going to be our tornadoes and our hurricanes, some of the ones that we are most familiar with. And the last one is biological. And this one is dealing with disease epidemics, which is exactly what we are living through right now. It also deals with insect and animal plagues, but an example would be the COVID-19 pandemic that is going on. That would be a biological natural hazards. So here's just some practice problems here. So which of these options lists examples of geophysical natural hazards? So if you're completing this Pear Deck on your Chromebook, you'll be able to see the option choices, and I'll be able to see your answers to that because it is administered through Google Classroom. So I'll be able to save the session and view yours. But this is more of just how we do our in-classroom formative checks to make sure you guys are understanding it. So you'll be able to see the answer choices on your Chromebook. So a tsunami is caused by an earthquake underneath the ocean floor. Based on this information, what type of natural hazard is a tsunami? We just talked about that, so you'll also be able to answer that question as you're going through the Pear Deck on your Chromebook. Droughts and wildfires are which type of natural hazard? Once again, something we just went through, and you'll be able to answer this on your Pear Deck. All right. Sometimes people use the phrases natural hazard and natural disaster as interchangeable terms, and actually they are not. So a natural disaster is the effect or the result of a natural hazard. So the natural hazard occurs, and then there is a disaster as a result of that hazard. So, for example, due to an event such as a flood or earthquake, there could be these devastating effects. Like there may be an earthquake, which is the hazard, and then the disaster would be the buildings that have fallen down, the injuries and loss of life, all of the things that we would be stuck cleaning up after the actual hazard. So here an example would be due to the devastating tsunami in Indonesia, there was catastrophic flooding and loss of life, which would be considered a natural disaster. The tsunami itself was the hazard. So true or false, a natural hazard and a natural disaster are the same thing. We have now learned that that is false. The disaster is the result of the hazard. A couple more important vocabulary words as you fill out your vocabulary organizer. Catastrophic, it's sudden great damage. Think it's disastrous. It's the catastrophe, similar to the disaster. Forecast is to predict or estimate. So we forecast that there could be a thunderstorm. We forecast that there could be a snowstorm. We predict it based on what our meteorologists are looking at the different patterns that they can see as they are trying to predict if a thunderstorm, blizzard, etc. could be coming. Same thing with an earthquake. We are going to be monitoring seismic activity using a seismic graph to attempt to predict or estimate if an earthquake could be coming. Same with volcanoes and tsunamis. So mitigate is one of our most important vocabulary words this unit. It means to make less severe. So for example, engineers can mitigate the damage from floodwaters with dams or levees. So kind of like if you have a city like New Orleans that is below sea level, they built levees so that if there was a catastrophic hurricane come through, the levees would be able to prevent flooding and water damage to the city. But the biggest thing with Hurricane Katrina is the hazard, which was Hurricane Katrina, caused even more extensive of a natural disaster, which is the effect, because the levees failed. Their mitigation efforts failed. So therefore, it was not as preventable as they tried to make it. Another great example of mitigation is what is exactly happening right now with our biological natural hazard that we are living through. In order to mitigate or make less severe the effects of this infectious disease spreading, they have closed the schools. So that's a great example of mitigation. So here on your Pear Deck, you can choose one natural hazard and explain in complete sentences how we can mitigate those effects. Here, you're just going to create a mind map to help organize your ideas. What I want here is an example of a hydrological, a climatological, a geophysical, and a biological. And then you would give 1 to 2 examples of each on your mind map. Here, just take a moment and try to predict, or you can research where each hazard could possibly occur or has occurred in the past. So a disease epidemic obviously could happen worldwide. A hurricane, you might draw your arrow to Florida because they have them quite frequently due to the ocean currents and the temperatures that exist here in the Atlantic Ocean. This is where a lot of our hurricanes start forming, and then they make their way up. Don't worry about this slide. This slide was meant to be for if we did it in the classroom. So your assignment for days 2 and 3 are going to be you completing the jigsaw independently. Of course, if we were doing it in the classroom, you would have each done one example, and then we would have jigsawed them together. Oh, but we don't get to do that. So hopefully we'll all be back together soon. So here, just use your slides to type in the definitions for each vocabulary word, and then you can work on your jigsaw. So with your jigsaw, you're going to have to give me some kind of detailed information for all 4 categories. So you would choose one example for each category. So for your jigsaw, let's say for biological, you wanted to do the COVID-19. That would be an excellent one to do because you can use real examples that you are experiencing as you go through this natural hazard. For geophysical, you would once again pick a geophysical example, maybe an earthquake or a volcano or whatever you would like to choose. It's up to you. Then for hydrological, same thing. Flood, blizzard, whatever you want to pick, something to do with the water. And then your last one would be your climatological example. Hurricanes, tornadoes, thunderstorms, extreme temperatures, drought, your choice, okay? So you have a few days to do the jigsaw because it will take you a couple days to do it because normally what we would do is we would have done it as a table and each of you would have had one example. So you guys will get to do all 4. And if you need any help or have any questions over the next few days, just let me know. We will be available by email. Subscribe to my YouTube channel because I'm going to be posting videos as often as I can to help you guys out. Alrighty. And if you would like to request anything that I could, maybe some sort of hat or something I could wear, or any one of my characters in my room that you might miss, just let me know. All right. You guys have a wonderful day and let me know if you need anything. Bye.